Story time. This is when I was 17 years old. I had a friend named Jeremy who got in trouble with the law because he was with a group of people who robbed a store, and one of the people got knocked out, and so the police were looking for everybody, and they did get everybody except for my friend Jeremy. So he comes over to my cousin's house, and he had a map with him, and he asked if anybody wanted to go to Florida. I was the only one that was basically homeless, and I could do that, and so I said, okay, but we looked at the map, and it looked impossible to go to Florida. There wasn't like one highway that went all the way there. You had to keep jumping, and it just looked very hard and difficult. But then I noticed going to California, there was a highway that went basically all the way through the states, and then you would hit Highway 101, and you could hitchhike down by the beach, which we end up going all the way to Vintage Beach. Okay, so anyway, we got started, and when we got to Topeka, he pulled out a can of peanut butter, and we had just bought a can of peanut butter, and I opened it up a couple days before, and I stuck my finger in it, and I'm looking at it, I'm going, is that our peanut butter? Did you steal that from my house? And he said, no. I said, that's my fingerprint in there. And then he admitted it was. Okay, well then we found a couple dollars on the highway, and we got some bread, so we had peanut butter sandwiches. And it took us 3.5 days to get there, but on the way, people fed us. And so we made it, you know, we had no problems, except for in one area. Now, the first person that picked us up was from Topeka, not from Topeka, we were in Topeka, and he was a military guy. He had a military truck, all these boxes, had straps on there, and he said, if you can get on there, you know, I'll take you for as far as I go. So we got on the back, and it was a bitch because he was going over the speed limit. We had long hair, and it kept slapping us in the face. Plus, we're just holding on to these cords sitting on the back of these trucks, on the truck. But anyway, we made it through that one. Then there was a time period before we got to Colorado, or we just got to Colorado, where we weren't getting any rides. We had to walk from one town to another. And so I told him, I'm thinking about going back home because this is too hard. You said we wouldn't have any problems and all that. He goes, just give it a little bit longer, and if we don't get a ride, then we'll go back. So sure enough, this car was very loud, and there was 2 girls in there, good-looking hot chicks, and they parked a little ways from us on the side of the highway, and he said, it's for us. And I said, no, there's no way. And so he runs up there, and then he goes, come on. And I'm going like, really? For us? So we got in there, and the music was so damn loud, the windows were vibrating. And they had a basket of food, and they gave it to us. And, you know, so they had some pop in there, so we drank. And, God, I probably lost some hearing damage from that little incident. But they were friendly and nice. Then the next person we got picked up by was a guy who owned one Kodak company. You know, I guess people own them. Kind of like you have like a Casey's everywhere, but a person owns it. Anyway, he gave me his business card, which I still have to this day. I'm 45 years old, but I still have it because that adventure it meant something to me, you know. I wanted to see the ocean. That's one reason why I went. So anyway, he actually offered me a job because I took photography in school in Linden, and but I never did call him back. That's the reason why he gave me the business card. He actually got us into a motel, which was really nice, although he only paid for one person and had me sneak in there. I kind of worried, you know, a guy doing that, is something going to happen? But no, he was friendly and nice. He took us out to eat, and, you know, he just said he'd get lonely on his long-distance drives. Okay, the next person we got picked up by, and there was lots of little other people, the people that stuck out. The next person was a teacher. And she had nothing but dried fruits, which I really hadn't ate really at all up until this point. And it tasted okay, you know. I mean, it was food. And she had like water. But she was really friendly and took us a long distance too. And then one group of people was so odd. These guys looked just like Cheech and Chong. They sounded like them. They were drinking. This is when we was on the edge of the Grand Canyon, because the Grand Canyon kind of goes up a little ways, up into Utah or whatever, the tip of it. So anyway, I could see the distance and all that, and it was really scary, really scary. And they offered me and him a joint, which Jeremy took it with no problem. And I at first said no, but then I was getting more freaked out by their driving. They were driving, the road was not very long. You have the cliff right here, and the edge drop off. And so I drank a beer, and I ended up getting high, which relaxed me. And there was one part where it split out like this, and they drove up to the last second before they choose to go to the left. And they sounded just like Cheech and Chong. It was really weird. I know it wasn't them. There's no way. But anyway, then the last group that stuck out was a band group. They were in a truck. They had all their instruments in the back, like guitar and drums and all this. And it was weird because I thought California weather was great, and this was at nighttime, and it was freezing. We were in the back of the truck, and we were freezing, shaking. I just didn't know if I could make it any longer. We were sitting there hovering next to each other, and Jeremy was like, we're just looking at each other and freezing our ass off. Anyway, they took us all the way to the beach in California. After that, we hitchhiked all the way down to Venice Beach, and that's where we went. And I got to go in the ocean, and I almost drowned like a few minutes after I got there. I got up on a rock, and I go, Kansas, like that. And everybody was like, what is he doing? But I wanted to, see the ocean. I jumped in there, and the waves were so big, they would pick you up. Like you jump, and you would hover above the waves. And it was fascinating, but unfortunately there was two waves right behind each other, because it was kind of like a rhythm. But then it was off. Anyway, it hit me, and I went under, and I couldn't get my feet underneath me. And I did get out because some people jumped in there and grabbed me and pulled me up there. And I explained to them that I just got there. And so they go like, well, that explains it, because if you're not used to the ocean, it can happen. And I noticed that there was salt floating around in the water. I mean, like little chunks. I never knew that. It was really fascinating. But anyway, I had just signed up for Job Corps right before I left to do this, and my mom told me on the phone that they accepted me. This would be the first time I go to Job Corps. And so I found out from bums on the beach, because there's like homeless people, and you know about them at night. And so we hung out with them. Anyway, they said that if your parents agree, you can go to the bus station, tell them that you're a runaway, and then they'll call your parents, and if your parents says it's true, they'll give you a free ticket all the way back home. And so that's what I did, and I went back. Jeremy stayed there. He actually got a job. He made it for a month and a half, but he ended up coming back because, one, he missed his family. Two, he said it was too hard living on the streets. Like, he was taking baths in the ocean, in creeks, because I watched him. He was still soaked from the bathrooms. And then jump in the creek, and there was no way I was going to do that. No way. And also at the car wash, believe it or not. So anyway, he said it was just too rough. He couldn't do it. He couldn't make enough money to actually get a place. And so he came back. He got arrested. He turned himself in, and he ended up getting probation. A few of those guys actually got probation, but a couple of them actually went to jail. And so anyway, that was it. I went to, Job Corps, and I didn't get to see him till later to find out how long he lasted and that he came back and all that. So I got to tell you, I want to go back. I've never got to see the ocean again. I really want to do that. I don't want to hitchhike. I gave that up because of an incident that happened. We both had an incident, which I'll tell in a different story, that was the reason why I quit hitchhiking, and so did he. Two different incidents, though. He had an experience, and I had an experience. I think people keep repeating things as long as things are good, but the moment something bad happens, you stop your behavior, All right, so that's what happened when I hitchhiked to California. Venice Beach was like a little circus every day. People had all sorts of talents and were making money and stuff like that. We had no talents. And we survived by eating leftovers of people's food. Like, I would watch for hot chicks to buy food, and they would take a couple bites out of pizza and then throw it on top of the trash can, and I would snatch it up. Jeremy would eat if it was a guy or a woman, it didn't matter. He would eat that, but I would eat if it was a hot. And I also ripped off the part where a person ate. You know what I mean? But that's how we made it. All right. You guys have a good one. Take care, and God bless.